Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our webinar today, Part-Time to Full-Time, Building Your Mobile App for Business. We are joined by the lovely Ken George, but I will get into the introductions in just a little bit. Before we start, just a couple housekeeping notes. Every one of you is on mute, but please feel free to ask us questions. We have Jana, a member of our marketing team, here to ask any questions or answer any questions that you may have. Anything that she can't get to via chat, we'll try to address at the end of the webinar. We're aiming for 35 to 45 minutes, so everybody should be good to go by around 11:45 Pacific time, so 45 minutes from now. If you've attended these webinars before, you know that I am not Danny Mason, VP of Sales at Bizness Apps. Danny unfortunately couldn't make it today, but my name's Patrick. I'm campaign manager, member of our marketing team here at Bizness Apps. And I am joined by the one and only Ken George, partner from Next Wave Designs. Ken, say hello.
Hello, everyone. It's a good thing, Patrick, that there aren't two of me. Believe that.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Ken and I have had a working relationship for the better part of like 2 years now, just as long as I've been at Bizness Apps. So it's an honor to do one of these with you, Ken. I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome.
So just a quick intro to you, Ken, and Next Wave Designs. First and foremost, why mobile apps, and specifically why Bizness Apps? How did you get started?
Well, I have been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. It really started at 15 in a formal fashion. And when I was looking around for an opportunity, I was knee-deep in the construction business, and I was looking for something that was different, something that was unique. One thing you'll never see me do is be a house painter, where I'm competing with everyone that can drive over to Sherwin-Williams. So I just happened to be on Craigslist, and I was looking through the opportunities, and I saw an ad for someone that was looking to hire salespeople to sell mobile apps, and I thought that would be pretty cool, especially since I didn't know what a mobile app was. It was pretty cool. And so I actually, just to sort of test the markets, I went and walked into 10 businesses' doors just to ask them really if they had a mobile app or if they'd be interested in a mobile app. And what I found shocked me. 7 of the businesses needed websites, like right then. None of them had a mobile app, and none of them even knew what I was talking about. So what I saw was opportunity, and that opportunity still exists today. The reason that I selected Bizness Apps out of all the different providers that you might find on the internet, the ones that sell native mobile apps as well as the ones that pretend that they do, is that Bizness Apps is number one. I mean, we're literally talking about a world leader. So I figure if I'm going to get into a business where I have no idea what I'm doing, what I'm selling, or what the marketplace was, and again, I didn't even have a smartphone at the time. I was flip phone Ken at the time. I figured, why go with number 3? Why go with number 6? I'm going to go with number 1. This way, when I go out and talk to businesses, ask them for a check, ask them for a credit card, I'm in bed with the biggest and the baddest, so if anything goes wrong, I don't have to sweat it. And that's why I chose Bizness Apps.
Nice. But when you got started, you weren't solo, right? Didn't you have a partner when you first started?
Well, what happened was, again, I didn't know what an app was. So I have a buddy who's half my age, and whenever we had technical questions or technology questions, we would call and ask him, my whole family. And he was our resource for years and years. So it was no different when I came up with this opportunity. And literally I called him 5 times asking him what a mobile app was. And he kept giving me these answers, and like I would zone out before we could get to the end of the answer. So then finally, the 5th time that I asked him what an app was, he said, okay, no more answering questions. Whatever you're doing, I'm in. So yes, and let me say that had I not had my buddy, who was my technology guy, as my partner, before day number 1, I could have never been successful because I literally came to the table knowing nothing. I could have never figured out the language on Apple's website to get an Apple license. Let's put it that way. So that's where we started. You know, I'm the sales guy, but I had zero for the technology end of it. I could do Microsoft Word and really Microsoft Office. I could do all of those products except for Excel, and that's what I brought to the table, which quite frankly just wasn't going to be enough. So I was fortunate that it went the way that it did, and I was able to rope-a-dope him into getting started with this thing with me. And literally, as I said, when I got started, I had a construction business. And in that construction business, I had like 5 different incomes. I was doing training and providing technical support and doing phone doing tech calls and stuff like that. And I was already working on a slow week 30 hours and on a busy week 60 or 70 hours. And maybe there was some travel there. So things were not going to be easy for me to get started. And that's really where I came from.
Yeah. So you started off with the two of you doing this part-time business, and then you went full-time into Bizness Apps, and now you have a team of a handful of sales guys, right? How did you go, without giving too much of the webinar away right in the beginning, but how did you go from the two of you to how many ever you are now?
Okay, so since we're at the very beginning, let me tell you what I did in the very beginning. First of all, I really wanted this to work. I really wanted this to work. Now, again, being a serial entrepreneur, I have bought business opportunities that were $50 or $2,500 or $10,000. And probably the shortest one I did, and before the webinar, we were talking about the difference in our weather, how it's 57 degrees there in San Francisco today, and it's 99 degrees here in Florida. Well, when just after college, I was living in Florida, and I bought this business opportunity doing car detailing. So it was like a $2,500 investment. Well, let me tell you, my very first car, I decided that business wasn't for me. Literally one and done. So that's my second business that I bought into that I literally did it for one day and quit. And getting into this, I just knew that I wanted to take this really seriously. So since this wasn't in the, or since this was in the advertising realm, I actually went and took a job working with a guy that was selling advertising. They do this thing where they make these coupons that go on the top of pizza boxes. So what I wanted to do was literally go to his sales training to get a advertising 101 overview, because it had been years, probably 14 years since I had done any advertising, and that really just sort of got my feet wet in the whole advertising mindset. And interestingly, when I left doing that after a week, one of the sales reps that was there with me, he didn't like it, and he was looking for an opportunity, so I brought him with me. So day number 1, when we went out into the field to look for our very first client to talk to, it was me and this other seasoned sales rep. And that's how we got started from a marketing standpoint.
Nice, nice. I'll save the favorite clients for down the road. Just promise me you'll tell us a couple stories farther down the webinar about some of your favorite clients.
I promise.
All right, good. So like I said, the webinar is from part-time to full-time, building your mobile app business. This is going to encompass making the decision and committing to mobile apps as, a career. It's how you're going to get educated and learn how to sell, how mobile apps work, how you're going to best leverage your time, and how to really be flexible with your pricing. So if you think about it in the complete arc of becoming, a mobile app reseller or a partner of Bizness Apps, we're trying to cover all your bases here. I mean, Ken's been gracious enough to join us, so let's just hop right in. All right, Ken?
Rock and roll.
All right, so talk about making a commitment. Making a commitment to actually join the mobile app fray and start your business.
Well, I didn't I wasn't born a serial entrepreneur. I learned it from my dad. My dad was an attorney, he's retired now, and he literally was always doing a business opportunity on the side. And so what I saw him do was go to like a hotel seminar, buy a business opportunity, and before he got home and got it unpacked, he was buying another one, meaning that he was never making a commitment to anything. Now, again, when I got started, I was already working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I had all kinds of stuff going on, and the only way that I was going to be successful in this business was to make a decision. I mean, you've really got to want to make it happen, because literally nothing happens without making that decision. Once that decision is made, well, now you've got to prepare for success. Since we've started doing these webinars, I've probably spoken to 140 business apps resellers. And it's amazing. And at this point, I am an enterprise reseller, so I have some of my own resellers. It blows my mind that someone wants to get into this business, call themselves a mobile app reseller at dinner parties, yet they're not even signed up with Apple or Google or with their credit card processing company. It's like you're not even prepared for success to happen. So once that decision is made that this is going to be what you want to do, I mean, you're hearing me, and it's like, wow, this guy sold more than 100 apps. That's what I want. Well, great. Once you make that decision, commit to it. Then you've got to prepare for success. We've had some great days. I had a sales rep that sold 9 apps in one day. I've sold 20 apps in one sitting. But you know what? You can't do any of those things unless you prepare yourself for success by structuring your business as well as structuring your mind. So, Bizness Apps makes all these tools available to you, the different webinars, the different sales and marketing tools. You've got to take advantage of those things and just digest them. And when I first got started, my God, if Andrew was doing a webinar, I was digesting that webinar. And then I would listen to it again and again and again. And, I have literally gone to sleep with Andrew Gazdecki in my ears more times than I would like to admit. And that's the sort of commitment that you've got to show.
So you're,
go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off, but you are getting on to the next slide a little bit.
Control me.
I think that's what I'm working on here. I think a really good opportunity to absolutely present what this slide is all about is just talking how you went from working your 30 to 70 hour construction job to committing that same amount of time to the mobile app business. So how did you make that transition?
Time leveraging. You got to leverage time. I would get home from work, eat some food, take a shower, and then I'd get stuff done. I mean, you got to sacrifice. That means that, I was married, honey, good night, but I've got to stay up and I've got to go to work. So I used to sit there and watch, HBO or ESPN until 1 o'clock in the morning. And I simply turned off the TV and turned on the webinars. So I literally started looking at the time that I had in my day, in my life, and I had to make decisions about what was the most important thing for me to be doing at any given time. In essence, take the toys, put those away, make some sacrifices, and commit. That's basically what I did. Then, as I mentioned, by being able to start with another sales rep on my team, day number 1, the exciting thing about that was on a given day, if I had to go do a construction project and I was only going to have, let's say, 3 hours in the evening to go to work, it didn't matter because I had a sales rep that was going out during the day that was putting 7 hours in. So in that day that I was really pressed for time, when you add it all up, we actually had 10 hours that was being put into our sales and marketing effort.
So given that not everyone is going to be able to have their own sales rep or that they're not going to be able to have like a bigger team of 3 like you had. I think that really leads us into the next slide, which is, get educated, like start building apps, start doing good work. You've already talked before about studying the webinars, the blog posts, and the training materials. But could you elaborate a little bit and really get into what you would have done if you were just solo, or what someone should do if they're on their own, they don't have their own team?
Well, if you don't have your own team, then you need to build your own team. So when as you listen to me now, it seems like in the beginning everything was really easy. However, I literally went and took a job. I cleared the deck of my construction, took a little break, got a job with that advertising company, and while I was there, I was making friends with everybody in the room. So when things looked a little shady there, you better believe I had 3 phone numbers to call, and I was selling those people on coming to work for me. So what you simply need to do is just look around and staff your weaknesses. A lot of people come to the tables and they're already good at sales. Well, if you're good at sales, then get out there and start talking to people. We're going to talk in a little bit about pricing flexibility. And so the most important thing when you're first getting started is just to get apps out there. Now, the last thing here on the page where it talks about good work versus busy work, so important, and we really have limited time in this webinar today, but let me reference the Mobilize convention that you guys had last November in San Francisco. I did an hour-long presentation there. So if you're listening to this webinar, you can go ahead and look that one up. It's in your back office, and you can watch it. And there's an entire slide where I'm talking about doing good work versus doing busy work. In essence, by placing ads in Craigslist, for instance, trying to hire and attract sales reps, if I literally had 3 hours of time a week getting started doing this business, and someone listening to this call is in that position, what I would do is the following. Step 1, I would get my business set up where everything was in place. Apple license, Android license, Google license, my credit card processing, everything. I'd have my sales pitch book together, my business cards, flyers. I would have everything in place. Then what I would do, if I only had 3 hours to put into this thing, I would use that 3 hours placing ads on Craigslist in an effort to hire people who have nothing but time to put into this business. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So you're obviously a very big advocate of adding to the team, and I think that's a great idea. What do you look for in new talent or in salespeople? What are you offering them? How do you bring them on board?
The most valuable trait that someone can be bringing to the table is someone who has business-to-business sales experience. Half the battle is identifying the decision maker. Part of that same half of the battle is getting in front of that decision maker. And quite frankly, by getting sales reps out there in the field, that's your best way to be able to crunch numbers. Sales is all about numbers. Everyone has heard that sales is a numbers game. And by getting on Craigslist, which is free to place your ads, in some of the larger cities they do charge. But one of the little tricks that I'll go ahead and let out of the bag is that if you place an ad in the gigs section, which is G-I-G-S, in the gigs section, you can do that and it doesn't cost anything. Which means, as we talk about numbers, that I can literally go and take, say, 5 email addresses. I can place 3 ads for each email address. That's 15 ads. And if I do that twice a week, that's 30 ads a week that I'm placing on Craigslist looking for sales reps.
If I do that for a month, 30, 60, 90, that's 120 ads. Guess what? And this is my whole focus on that concept of busy work versus that important work, because if I put out 120 ads, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to attract a bunch of sales reps. And when I attract those sales reps, boy, is that going to light a fire under my tukish, or tukus, I think is the word, to get out there and get the other things done. You see, when you come to the table with a 40-hour-a-week job, before you ever get started, you're working 40 hours a week, and now you're talking about you only have 5 hours extra or 10 hours extra a week to put into a part-time business. Well, there's a lot of moaning and groaning that comes along with that. Oh, wowsy, wowsy, feel sorry for me, on and on and on. Well, guess what? If you've got 5 sales reps that came out of your 100 ads that you put in Craigslist for that month, you are going to find a way to get it done. And that's literally what I did.
So, another great segue. Ken, you talked about, finding that time, and right here on our next slide, it's leveraging your time and it's creating consistent time. You've said before it took you a while, but you needed that consistency and a consistent time in order to build momentum. So,
absolutely.
So what was your process for making sure? What was your timeline, and what was your process for making sure that you were able to build that momentum through consistency?
It was committing to placing ads on Craigslist for sales reps every 3 days until I was too busy to be able to think about Craigslist, because the people that I had hired had created so much activity that all of a sudden the revenue started flowing in. It's funny. Go ahead.
Before the revenue starts flowing in, and when these people are setting like demos and times to talk, what about the actual app making process? That's like the biggest question I have. So I'm assuming that everyone listening has that question too, because that's another big part of this mobile app business is being able to create these apps that people want to buy. So how did you do the other side of that coin?
When we first got started, I was taking care of the sales end of the business and the production end of the business, and my partner was taking care of the actual making of whatever, because I honestly didn't even get into the back office and mess with that stuff. I just let him do it. It was way above my pay grade. And so by having those 2 areas of the business taken care of, we were able to go out there and do it. So as far as making our demos, I listened to a webinar by Andrew Gazdecki, and basically what he was talking about was going to Odesk is what it was called at the time. Now it's called Upwork, exactly. And we went there and we were able to hire ourselves a couple of designers that were in the Philippines that had experience utilizing the Bizness Apps platform. Well, today, Bizness Apps provides you the opportunity where you can have Bizness Apps make your demos for you. But literally, that's what we did, is we had these 2 kids from the Philippines, and they made all of our demos. So we set up a system or a process where the sales reps are out in the field, they come across a business that wants to see a free demo, and they would go to our website, put the information in, and then we would get a notification from the website. Then we would simply email that stuff to our person in the Philippines. We would create the shell of the demo, and then they would go in and fill everything else out and get it done. So, again, as a salesperson, not really feeling comfortable with technology, you have a multitude of opportunities to be able to get people either through Upwork that you can hire to do your demos. You can have Bizness Apps do your demos. I know that Bizness Apps, you guys have a forum. I spoke to one of your resellers who's in Washington State, I think it was 2.5 weeks ago, and they told me that they had found someone on your forum
that was offering to build demos and to build apps. And so getting started, that's what they were doing. And really, that is my answer for when you're getting started, how to start if you don't already have that covered. Because once some time goes by, once you've got revenue coming in, once you have successes, you're going to want to bring your app building, your demo building, and your publishing and all of that stuff, you're going to want to bring that in-house, because once you understand it, it is so, so simple to do it.
And just to elaborate really quickly on the design aspect, a lot of the people listening may have design only. And so you've already heard Ken answer that, hire a sales team. If you're sales only and you don't have a second person with you to do the nitty-gritty building, we do have Bizness Apps. We do have design services available to you. The demo app design service, what Ken was referencing, where it's a shell, will provide you in-app images that fits exactly to who your potential client is going to be. And we can get that to you 2, maybe 3 days, and it's only $25. So it's a very, very low cost to begin with, and if you're able to land that client, then you'll see pretty much instant ROI. Enough of the selling on my end. The last thing on here, Ken, is
you know what? Let me just add on to that. When we first got started, and I was calling in to support, I was begging you guys, please, why don't you make demos? You will make my life so much easier. Please, why don't you guys publish or create our apps for us or whatever it is? And to see that this is now a reality is just so incredible, because it would have made it so much easier for me to get started today than what it was like when we first got started. Listen, the concept of going to Upwork or Odesk and hiring a couple of kids out of the Philippines sounds great, because Lord knows we had them doing our demos, let's say for $15 a demo, which is $10 less than that $25. However, they're in the freaking Philippines. So what that meant was every time, and if you pay attention to the world weather or whatever, those guys were having tsunamis, and then they were just out of pocket for 5 days. Earthquakes, landslides, mudslides, whatever. And whenever we had problems or whatever, like communication challenges, the problems we ran into, now we have to have a webinar with them or an online meeting with them, a Skype thing, at 2:30 in the morning. So my goodness, if we could have come to you all and had you do our demos when we first got started, please.
Well, I'm glad we were able to figure that out for you and as well for everybody else. Just the last point on the slide before we move on to the pricing. As you're growing your team, as you're becoming more efficient, how are you able to simplify your processes in order to, become this really go-to member of the mobile app community or mobile app reselling community?
So, well, what happened was, in the beginning, as I said, when we first got started, even before sales reps, it was like, okay, can we even build a demo? Can we build an app? I mean, again, we came knowing nothing. So the first thing we did on the construction side of the apps is we just picked 20 random businesses in our town that all had names, and we just built demos for them, just to prove that we could do it. So we had these guys in the Philippines or whatever, and we just had them build us 20 demos to prove that we could do it. Okay, that was done. Then over here with our sales reps, before going to Craigslist, thankfully, I had that one sales rep. So he and I went out together, or actually, we went out in the same day, not together, different parts of town, and basically what we did is we just stayed in touch each and every day, all throughout the day, identifying holes in our game plan so that we could ultimately figure out what our system was going to be. So I literally worked with that one other sales rep and my partner and our Philippines dude and our little team that we put together. We put our own process in place, our own system in place. And let me just say this. 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. You know what that is, don't you?
Everybody does.
Exactly.
McDonald's has not sold billions and billions of hamburgers because they're good. They've sold them because they have a system. You go anywhere in the world and get that Big Mac, it's going to taste the same. We're not looking for good food, we're looking for consistent food. So getting started, I knew that before I could have 10 sales reps out there and kill this business, that we had to put a system in place. And that's what we did in the very beginning. So literally, day number 1 in the field, my sales rep was targeting a particular restaurant, and it was 5 weeks later that we ended up selling that restaurant. However, on that same first day, he got a demo request from a bail bonds company that was across the street from the restaurant. Ended up making that was Monday. On Wednesday, he went back to do the demo, sold it, picked up a check for $750. He went back on Friday and picked up another check for $750. And then we also sold him a website for $3,000. So it was really neat that we had that early instant success, but literally just by communicating, he and I, that's what allowed us to put our process or our system in place. The good thing is that everybody that's listening to this webinar, all the people that are coming behind us, the people that listen to the webinar today, tomorrow, and the ones that listen to it a year from now, we now have all of these tools available to you that you don't have to go out and learn how to, recreate the wheel. All you got to do is come in and learn the system that we have already created, go out and duplicate what we are doing every single day, and then as time goes on and you've sold 20 apps, 30 apps, 50 apps, go ahead and start making your own changes. Take those sesame seeds off the bun if you want to. You've already sold 30 apps, and along the way you've learned so much that you can start making your own decisions. But goodness gracious, if I was getting started today, my man, I would simply listen to all the webinars that we've done. I would learn as much as you could learn from what we're doing, and I would go out and do the exact same thing.
Like your pricing?
Okay, so when we first got started, we were selling our apps for $1,500 and $100 a month with zero flexibility because we didn't know anything else. And it was so funny looking back on it. I was talking to one of my buddies who has also done some entrepreneurial stuff in his life, and he's like, I was telling him about this new business, and I was like, yeah, we're going to be selling these apps, and this is what we're going to be charging. And he said, oh, okay, well, what's your cost? I said, well, on that $1,500, my cost is zero. He said, okay. And on the $100 a month, my cost is whatever you bought into Bizness Apps at. $10, $20, $30. Actually, when we first got started, it was $30 before we got into the whole enterprise thing. And he said, well, you don't have to charge $1,500 and $100. And I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. So when we first went out, that's all we were doing. And we were not changing our price because we knew what what Starbucks was paying for an app, what Dunkin' Donuts was paying for an app. So why should we go down on our $1,500? That's what we were thinking. Well, I talked to a Bizness Apps reseller that had been doing this now for over a year. And I'm saying to him, well, how many apps have you sold? And he's like, oh, we've sold 4 apps. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that's good. And then I said, well, how many app credits do you have? And he's telling me about how he's got 30 app credits. And so I said to him, so the other 26 app credits, do those get tucked in every night? Do you shine those things up every day, or do you just do that weekly? And he's like, well, what are you talking about? And I said, oh my gosh! If I was starting today and I had 10 app credits, I would go out and I would tell everyone my price is $1,500 and it's $100 a month.
However, because we are just getting started and opening up this territory, I am going to present you with an offer where I'm going to give you a discounted price, and in exchange for that discounted price, I want some things in return. I want some referrals. I want a letter that you write, say, 60 days after the app goes live, where you tell me how you're using it and how things are going for you. In essence, I want to be able to use you as a center of influence in the community. So when I have someone else that I'm talking to about an app, if they need to talk to one of my customers, I can get you on the phone. And for you doing those things, whatever those things are, that I want you to do, I'm going to give you the opportunity where instead of you paying $1,500 and $100 a month, you can have this app for $1,000 off, for $750 off. You can have it for $500, $750. And then on the monthly, instead of it being $100, it's going to be $50. It's going to be $60. The idea is, and I just keep thinking about that person who has been doing this for so long and only has a few apps that they've sold, and they're sitting on top of all of these app credits that they're not using. I'm thinking, my God, if you would have gone out there and done that in your first month, in your first 6 weeks, based upon the pricing we're looking at, you'd literally have $5,000 of upfront money in your pocket. You would have $500 a month coming in. So if you're paying Bizness Apps 3, you've got, my goodness, you're already in the black day number 1. Or day number 6 weeks, day number 4 weeks. And that's huge. So when you're selling, it's so important that you have a quote-unquote story. You know, if you want to go buy a mattress, the best time to buy a mattress is George Washington's birthday, right? Because they're having a big sale.
Yeah.
So now that we've started this business and we're opening up this territory, this is our normal pricing, but here is special introductory pricing. So if you want to tell me a month from now that you want to get an app, no problem. Our price is $1,500 and $100 a month. However, in an effort to earn your business, while I am out here with you this afternoon, I am offering you this special pricing. Mr. Customer, can I earn your business while I'm out here with you today? And shut it down. Close it up. And the best part about it is, once you do that, and you can show, again, right in the beginning, that you've got 10 customers, when you walk to go see that 11th customer, and you tell them it's $1,500 and $100 a month, and they look at your 10 customers that you already have, they are automatically going to assume, rightfully so, that all of those people paid $1,500 and they're paying $100 a month as well.
Nice, nice. I really like that. One thing that I heard even another partner of ours, another reseller of ours, reiterate the same thing. When you're going out and you're offering special introductory pricing, a big objection that he received was, well, how come it's so cheap? And it's like, well, it's not necessarily cheap because there are things that I'm going to need from you, exactly what you said. I'm going to need referrals. I'm going to need a case study. I'm going to need information from you in order for me to build my business, which is why I'm setting up this introductory offer. And one of my favorite sayings of all time is, if you're good at something, never do it for free. So when you're walking around and you're offering these apps, make sure that if you're willing to drop price, if you're willing to offer even a free setup fee with just the hosting, that you are getting something out of it. And then you are able to leverage that one app into 10, 15, 25 other apps that you're selling to other small businesses.
Absolutely. And let me just add one golden nugget on top of that.
You have 1 minute.
Trade.
Nice.
When we sold 2nd Street Bistro, the pricing we offered them was $2,000 up front, $100 a month, and the guy gasped, and before he could exhale, we already came back to him with, well, because we love your restaurant, what we've decided to do is to take $500 in food, $1,500 in the form of a check, and then $100 a month. The guy gave us 2 gift cards for $250. I took one, the sales rep took one, and we were eating at that restaurant for $500 for free. So when you do drop price, you don't have to just let it evaporate into thin air. You can also take trade dollars. Another thing is, when you take those trade dollars, let's say it's a steakhouse, get $500 gift cards, give 1 or 2 to the sales rep, but allow your sales rep to actually use that $100 gift card, one of the extra ones, as a closing tool. So now all of a sudden you're talking to somebody else and you're saying it's $1,500, it's $100 a month, and if you sign up today, I'm going to give you a $100 gift card to go over there to that steakhouse.
That's ingenious, and I think is a perfect example of what we're talking about here of flexible pricing. Ken, first and foremost, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I hope everyone on here enjoyed it as much as I did, and I think the people listening now, the people listening within the next couple months, they're going to want more information from you. And I think this is a really great opportunity for you to talk about your Fit for Success mobile app reseller bootcamp. So why don't you give us a full breakdown?
Awesome. I've been doing sales training since I was 15 years old, literally. Well, actually, nope. I've been doing sales training since I was 16 years old, formally. And when we did our very first webinar with Andrew, I hung up the phone from the webinar, and the phone started ringing, and you people that are listening to this started calling me, and it just blew me away. So anyway, in working with you and with Andrew and the whole team over there, basically what we've done is we've put together a training program to teach resellers coming in the door that knew the sort of stuff that I knew, nothing. And now we're actually going from city to city doing these 2 to 3 day mobile app reseller boot camps. So we've already been to Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. And next week we're going to be in Seattle doing a training on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 2 weeks later we're going to be in New York, New Jersey. 2 weeks after that we're going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, followed by Cleveland, Ohio. As we do these 2 to 3 day trainings, my suggestion is if you're getting started, you want to get into the room, you can go to that website at the bottom of the screen, www.fit4success.training, fit4success.training. You can get information on what we're offering in the training and the cost, the locations and all that stuff. And here in the next month, we want to get all of the content that we're doing in those trainings and get it recorded, so even if you're not traveling, you can order either segments of the training or the entire training. So all of that is something that you have available that I just didn't have. We had to figure this thing out when we first got started. Blood, sweat, tears. You don't have to figure this out. If you want to cheat the system, all you got to do is come, sit in the room, and learn. How's that, Patrick?
Sounds pretty awesome, man. If anyone wants more information, fit4success.training, you can feel free to email me directly, patrick@businessapps.com. I'll get you in touch with Ken. I have no problem doing that. The most important thing here is that we're making this as easy for you guys as possible, and Ken's literally the best at it. So again, thank you so much for everyone attending. Thank you, Ken. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a couple moments to go through some of these questions. We got some good ones for you. It is now 11:45. I promise you I will have Ken off the phone by 11:50. So the first one, Ken, is how did you compensate your sales reps when you were starting up? Was it commission-based, and was that ongoing commission, or was it part of the setup fee?
Okay. What we started in the very beginning, what we were doing is 50% of the upfront money. So if they sold it for $1,500, then they made $750. If they sold it for $1,000, they made $500.
The least expensive app that we've sold was $500, and the sales rep put $250 in their pocket. On the residual end, surprisingly, even though residuals keep me up at night, just the thought of residuals, most people have never heard of residual income, so we were offering $10 a month for as long as the customer was signed up, which is good because we don't have a relationship with the customer, the sales rep does, and even a customer that isn't the squeaky wheel, when their credit card expires in 12 months, it's good to have that sales rep be able to walk back in there and get a new credit card.
Nice. Ken, right off the bat, give me a rough estimate. How many live apps do you think you have?
I have no idea.
Over 100? You got to have over 100 at this point.
Yeah. You know what? When we got obviously getting our first app was exciting. Getting to number 5 was exciting. Getting to number 10 was exciting. And 20 was the fight of our life. After 20, we really stopped counting because they stopped coming one at a time. We were selling them in 3s. We sold 9. We sold 20. Once we hit 100, I didn't even know we hit 100. Just sort of woke up one day and we did. And now I could care less how many we have on the books. I'm just concerned about the next one that's coming in the door.
Nice. So just another question about your sales guys. I would assume...
Hold on a second. And let me just say one other thing, and I apologize, but this is just a huge golden nugget. It's a golden boulder. When we first got started, it was all about selling apps. If you come to one of my training classes, I talk about having a 2 or 3 day training class. On the 3rd day, we talk about all of the non-traditional ways that we make money with mobile apps. For instance, we've got a group of 20 schools that we gave apps to them for free, and in doing so, we went out and sold $50,000 worth of advertising. Guess what? We're going to go out there and sell $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of advertising every year until the end of time. So selling apps and measuring our success by the number of apps that we've sold is no longer the way that we measure success. Okay, go ahead.
I will say I can't believe I hadn't even thought of that. That process of you giving away the free apps and selling the in-app advertising is one of the more ingenious things that I've heard in my time here at Bizness Apps. Not to toot our horn again, but we do have a written case study about Ken that we're happy to share with you if you want more information on that. And we have how to sell mobile apps to nonprofits. And one of the ways is we highlight Ken's way of selling in-app messaging. So if you guys need any of that information, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to get that to you.
We're taking that same theme out of the nonprofit field. We've already done some programs with golf courses. We've got a new program we're going to be doing with pizza companies. So there's so much you can do from the creativity standpoint. However, I suggest you do the nuts and bolts of this thing as you're getting started. Once you've got yourself 20 apps, 30 apps, 40 apps, do whatever the heck you want to do. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm assuming that most of your reps are doing calling, not necessarily in-person meetings, right?
We teach people to go and walk through the door of the business because people have no idea what you're talking about. They don't know what a mobile app is. But once you get the party started, who knows what direction it's going to go. You know, certainly we do presentations online. I mean, I've got customers around the country that I've sold on my computer. I've got a customer in England that I sold, and I certainly didn't travel there.
That actually leads me into the second question. We got 2 more questions here. The next one is, so what kind of quota do you set for your salespeople?
My salespeople are 1099, which means they're independent contractors. We don't have any quotas. If they go to work, they go to work, and we work with them. If they don't go to work, we don't waste our time. You know, when we talk about putting out 50 sales ads or 100 sales ads, I'm looking for people that are looking to work today. The reality is our top sales guy right now came on board. All of my sales training that I do right now is online. So one of the things when you come to my training, you can have that program also where when you want to train your sales reps, you can just send them to a website and all the sales training is there. So for me, to get a sales rep hired, trained, and outfitted with all the stuff that they need and out in the field costs me exactly $0 and maybe an hour and 25 minutes of my time. So if they want to go out there and kill it, more power to them. If they don't want to do anything, how can I change that? I have no control over them. This particular guy, that's my top sales guy right now, came on board, did the training, disappeared for 6 weeks, called me back, hey Ken, can I go to work? Let me tell you all my excuses about why I disappeared. Dude, I don't care. Are you ready to go to work today? Yes? Great. Let's go to work.
Nice. Nice.
I wish we could make them go to work. We just can't.
Completely understandable. Last question. It's only a yes or no answer. Would you ever consider doing trainings in Europe?
Absolutely.
Good. Then you're taking me with you. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Jana, for moderating. Thank you, everyone, for attending. If you need more information, fitforsuccess.training, businessapps.com, patrick@businessapps.com. I'm happy to answer any questions. Everybody have a wonderful Thursday, and we'll talk soon. Ken, thank you again.
Thank you, Patrick.
Bye, guys.